The violet shield held, but Elena knew it would not last. The Elder Hive ships circled like vultures, their hulls made of bone and shadow feeding on the silence they carried in their cores. She could feel their hunger not for flesh, but for forgetting. They wanted to erase Lisa, to erase Tom, to erase the very idea that memory could be rescued on the med bay floor. Lisa pressed the warm crystal into her brother's palm. "Tom, you have to hold this," she said. "If anything happens to me, if I go quiet, you squeeze it and say her name." Tom looked pale but alert, his eyes sharp again after cycles of static fog. "Who is here?" "Lena, the one who brought you back." He closed his fingers around the stone. It hummed softly like a heartbeat. Above them the station groaned as another beam of silence struck the shield. This time it did not shatter but rippled like water under a stone cracks of gray. Nothingness spread across the violet light. Elena dropped to one knee. Blood like liquid starlight trickled from her nose. She had sung too long, too deep. The song was part of her, but it cost her. Each note took a memory, a moment of her past, and gave it to the shield. She remembered the human traitor, now his face fading even as she tried to hold it. His laugh, his rough hands fixing her broken ship, his last words, "Be more than what they made you." She whispered his name, but it came out as static no. She gasped, clawing at her own mind. "I will not forget," down in the med bay. Lisa felt the crystal grow cold for a heartbeat, then hot again. She looked up the stars outside. The viewport flickered like dying candles. "They are hurting her." Tom said. Lisa stood. "We have to help. How? We are just humans." So was the man who named her. That stopped him. He nodded slowly. They ran through the silent corridors. Most of the crew still hid behind sealed doors, but Lisa did not slow. She knew the station like her own breath. She had worked here since she was 16, fixing comms, calibrating sensors, dreaming of deep space. They reached the central lift, but it was offline. Tom tapped the panel with his free hand. "Old trick," he said from his listening post. "Days power reroute through emergency conduit." The doors slid open with a groan. They rose toward the observation deck. The higher they went, the colder the air became, not from temperature but from absence, like walking into a room where someone had just died. When the doors opened, Elena was on her knees, the shield flickering, the enemy ships closing in. Lisa ran to her. "Elena." The princess lifted her head, her amber eyes dim, her silver veins dull. "I cannot hold them much longer." "Then don't hold them," Lisa said. "Stand with you, Selena." Blinked. "What, you said you were alone once? A human stood with you. Now stand with us." Tom stepped forward. "I don't know what you are, but you saved me. That means something." Elena looked at them both, then at the crystal in Tom's hand, glowing brighter now, pulsing in time with her own fading light. "You would trust me still." "We already do," Lisa said. Elena rose slowly, her gown torn, her breath ragged, but her spine straight. She turned to face the void and raised her hands, not to sing alone this time, but to listen. Lisa placed her hand on Elena's shoulder. Tom placed his on her back, and the three of them stood together. The crystal flared and the station answered. Not with weapons, not with shields, but with memory. Every data core, every log, every personal message, every song, every laugh, every tear stored in the station's archives, surged into the network not as data but as feeling, as truth. The Elder Hive ships recoiled. For the first time in centuries, they encountered something they could not erase. Not because it was strong, but because it was shared. You cannot delete a memory that lives in more than one mind. Elena whispered. The lead enemy vessel shuddered, its bone hull cracking as golden light seeped through the fractures inside its core. 1,000 stolen memories writhed, trying to escape. "They are waking up," Lisa said. Ease. Elena said the silence only works when no one remembers the truth. But now they dune by one. The enemy ships fell dark, not destroyed but dormant. Their silence broken from within. The violet shield faded, but the stars returned brighter than before. Elena swayed. Lisa caught her before she fell. "You did it," Tom said. "We did it." Elena corrected softly. In the days that followed, the Alliance sent ships not to fight but to witness. They found the Elder Hive vessels adrift, their crews confused but alive, whispering names they had not spoken in lifetimes. Tom was cleared by medics, declared whole. though he said he still heard echoes of the silence sometimes in his dreams. Lisa refused to leave the station. She had a new job now, not as a technician, but as bridge between human and alien. Alina stayed too. They did not call her princess anymore. They called her Elena. She walked the halls no longer cloaked in mystery but in quiet purpose. She helped the rescued hive members remember who they were before the silence took them. She listened to their broken stories and gave them back their names. Lisa often found her in the observation deck staring at the stars. "Do you miss your home?" she asked one evening. Elena did not answer right away. Then she said, "My home was silence until someone gave me a name. Now my home is wherever memory is." Honored. Lisa smiled and handed her a cup of real coffee. Smuggled from Earth. Elena took it and sipped carefully, then made a face too. Bitter Lisa laughed. "That is how we like it." They sat in comfortable quiet later that night. The crystal in Tom's room pulsed again, not with danger but with a signal from deep space, a faint echo, a voice saying, "Thank you," in 1,000 languages. Elena felt it too. She looked up from her quarters, her silver veins glowing softly. Someone else is waking up. Lisa joined her at the viewport. "What do we do?" "We go to them." Tom appeared behind them, still in his medbay scrubs, but standing tall. "I am coming too." Elena looked at them both, then nodded. The Obsidian serpent ship detached from the station, its coils unwinding like a sleeping dragon stretching awake. They boarded without ceremony. No fanfare, no speeches. Just 3 people stepping into the unknown together as the ship leapt into the fold between stars. Lisa held the crystal in one hand and Tom's hand in the other. Elena stood at the helm, her amber eyes reflecting the swirling cosmos. They were no longer hunter and hunted, human and alien, lost and found. They were simply crew, and the universe had more silence to break for behind them. The frontier station glowed like a beacon, not of war but of welcome. A place where memories were safe and names mattered. Ahead lay the dark. But it was not empty anymore. It was full of voices waiting to be. Elena touched the controls and the ship sang a new song, not of defense but of invitation. "Come back," she whispered to the void, and somewhere out there, 1,000 lost souls began to remember their way home. The obsidian serpent ship cut through the dark like a needle stitching memory back into the fabric of space. It left no wake. Only ripples of sound, soft songs that called to the lost. Lisa sat in the co-pilot seat, watching star charts bloom across the glass console, not with lines and numbers but with feelings. Places marked not by coordinates but by sorrow or hope or silence. Tom worked in the rear chamber where rescued hive minds rested in cocoons of light. They were not prisoners. They were guests slowly remembering who they had been before the elder hive stole their name. Selena stood at the helm, her bare feet touching the warm floor of the bridge. The ship knew her not as a pilot, but as a heartbeat. They had been traveling for 7 cycles since leaving the frontier station. In that time, they had found 12 more silence vessels drifting like ghosts, each one carrying minds trapped in loops of their final moments. They did not fight, they listened, and when they heard a whisper, they answered. Now a new signal pulsed from the rim of the shattered nebula, not a cry for help but a challenge. "Come if you dare," it said in a voice made of broken glass and old pain. Lena paused her song. "That is not hive, that is something older." Lisa leaned forward. "What is it, a watcher?" she said, one who stood guard while the hive did its work, one who liked the silence. Tom entered the bridge, his face tight. He had been helping a young hive child remember her mother's face, but the signal had shaken him. "It feels like Gamma 7, he said. Lisa's breath caught his. Elena said softly, "This is where it began." They dropped out of fold near a dead moon, its surface scarred with ruins. Not human, not hive, but something ancient. Towers bent inward, as if bowing to a god that never came. In orbit hung a single ship blacker than space itself. No lights. No movement, just waiting. "That is not a ship," Lisa said. "No," Elena replied. "It is a tomb." They docked anyway. The air inside was thick with dust and time, the walls lined with mirrors that showed not reflections but memories of those who had passed through. Lisa saw her brother on Gamma 7, his hand reaching for a console, his eyes wide as the silence swallowed him. Tom saw himself curled in static, Whispering a name that was not his own, Elena saw the human trader, his face finally clear his smile, kind as he pressed a small stone into her palm. The first crystal. This place feeds on regret. Elena said, do not look too long. They moved deeper into the tomb. Following the signal, it led them to a central chamber where a figure sat on a throne of frozen sound. It was tall and robed in shadows, its face hidden, but its voice was familiar. You should not have come back. Lisa stepped forward. You knew my brother. The figure turned slowly and lowered its hood. It was human, an old man with kind eyes and a scar across his throat. He looked like someone's grandfather, someone who told stories by firelight. My name is Henry, he said. I was the first. Elena went very still. Yeah, I was the traitor who named you. Yes, but you died. I did, Henry said. But the hive caught my memory before it faded. They folded me into this place to guard the source of the silence. Why? Because I knew you would come back and I had to decide if you were still worth saving. Lisa's fists clenched. You let them take my brother. I tried to stop them, Henry said, his voice breaking, but the silence was already in me. I could not speak his name in time. Tom stepped beside Lisa. His jaw set. You could have warned someone. I did. He said, look around you. They did. The mirrors showed not just past pain but messages hidden in the glass coordinates. Warnings, names of stations that had been saved because of clues left in Henry's silent prison. Had been fighting from inside the dark. Elena walked forward until she stood before him. Why show yourself now? Because the source is waking, he said. And it will not just take memories this time. It will unmake them, erase the past. So no one ever remembers. There was a war. A rescue, a song. Where is it? Beneath us, in the core of the moon, it sleeps in a shell of forgotten time. Can it be stopped? Only by someone who has been lost and found. Elena said, glancing at Lisa and Tom. Only by all three of us, Henry added. He rose from the throne and the shadows fell away, revealing a body made of light and dust. I cannot leave this place, but I can show you the way. He touched the floor and a stairway opened, leading down into red dark. They descended. The air grew heavier. With each step, not with heat but with absence of meaning, words lost their shape. Thoughts slipped like sand. Lisa held the crystal tight. Tom held her hand. Elena walked ahead, her silver veins dimming as if the dark was drinking her light. At the bottom, they found it, a sphere of pure silence floating in a chamber of bone and glass. It pulsed like a heart but made no sound. This is the first silence, Henry's voice echoed from above. It was created when the first mind decided it would rather forget than feel. Elena approached it slowly. How do we break it? Not by force, Lisa said suddenly. Understanding. You cannot fight nothing with something. Then how? Be remembering. Louder. She turned to Tom. Remember Gamma 7? Not the fear the moment before. Tom closed his eyes. I was fixing the antenna. Lisa had sent me a message about her birthday cake burning again. I was laughing. Lisa smiled. I forgot about that. Say it again. I was laughing. The sphere flickered. Elena began to sing, not a shield song, but a lullaby, the one the traitor had hummed to her when she was broken. Henry's voice joined from above, soft and steady, and Lisa spoke her brother's name. Not as a plea, but as a fact. Tom is here. The sphere cracked, light poured out. Not blinding, but gentle, like dawn after a long night. Memories flooded the chamber. Not just theirs, but millions of others. The first kiss. The last goodbye. The taste of rain. The smell of home. The silence screamed. But it had no voice. It unraveled. The tomb shook. The mirrors shattered, not into glass but into butterflies of light that flew upward toward the star. Henry stood in the center, fading fast. Thank you, he said to Elena, for remembering me. Thank you, he said to Lisa, for not giving up. Thank you, he said to Tom, for coming back then. He was gone, not dead, not lost, just finally at peace. They climbed the stairs as the tomb collapsed behind them. The obsidian ship waited in orbit, its coils open like welcoming arms and board. They sat in silence. Not the empty kind, but the full kind, the kind that comes after tears. Tom looked at Lisa. You think there are more like Henry? Probably. Elena watched the moon crumble on the view screen. The silence is broken, but the work is not done. What work? There are still minds in the dark. Still names, waiting to be spoken. Lisa nodded. Then we keep going as they set a new course, not following signals this time, but sending them. The ship broadcast a simple message in every language, every frequency, every form of light. You are remembered, and across the galaxy lights began to answer. A station near the blue rift powered up after 10 cycles of silence. A child on a desert world woke from a dreamless sleep and said, Mamaya Hive vessel turned away from the void and toward the nearest star, the universe, was stitching itself back together one memory at a time. Lisa leaned her head on Tom's shoulder. Alina placed a hand on the console, and the ship hummed in response. They did not know what waited ahead, but they knew they would face it together, and that was enough. The stars watched them go not as saviors but as reminders that even in the deepest dark a single voice saying your name can bring you home. The end. The warning had echoed through every human colony near the Violet Nebula. Stay away from the alien vampire princess. They said she drinks memories, not blood, and leaves her victims hollow shells. But Lisa Carter had never been good at following orders. She stood now on the observation deck of the frontier station orbiting Xenos Prime. Her breath fogging the cold glass as she watched the royal vessel descend. It was shaped like a coiled serpent made of obsidian and starlight, silent and impossibly graceful. The station trembled not from engines but from something deeper, a hum in the bones, a whisper in the mind. Everyone else had evacuated to the lower levels, sealed behind blast doors. Lisa stayed. She told herself it was curiosity, but deep down she knew it was loneliness. She had lost her brother 2 cycles ago during the Krell uprising. He had been stationed on a listening post near the rim, vanished without a trace. No body, no signal, just static and silence. The official report called it an accident. Lisa called it a lie. The airlock hissed open without warning. No alarms, no clearance codes, just a slow unfurling of darkness that pooled on the metal floor like spilled ink, and from it stepped Hertol and slender, with skin like polished onyx that shimmered with faint silver veins. Her eyes glowed soft, amber, not red like the horror vids, but warm like old honey. Her hair flowed like liquid night down to her waist, and she wore a gown woven from what looked like captured starlight. Simple yet impossible. Lisa did not move. She did not reach for her sidearm. She just watched. You should not be here. The alien woman said, her voice like wind through ancient trees, melodic and layered with echoes that did not belong to one throat. They told me to stay away. Lisa replied, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands, but I needed to see you for myself. Why? Because you took my brother. The princess tilted her head, a gesture so human it startled Lisa. I take nothing that is not freely given. He was stationed on Gamma 7 during the silence event. Lisa said, stepping closer. The station went dark for 3 days when it came back online. He was gone. No distress call, no wreckage, just his log entry repeating one word over and over. Yours. The princess went very still. The silver in her skin dimmed slightly. That station was not mine. Then whose? The silence was not mine either. She said softly, but I know who caused it. Lisa's heart pounded, but she did not look away. Tell me. The princess studied her for a long moment as if weighing her soul in invisible scales. You would not survive the truth. Try me. A ghost of a smile touched the alien's lips very well. But know this, once you hear it, you cannot unhear it, and I cannot protect you from what comes after. Lisa nodded. The silence was a weapon Lisa the princess began, not of war but of forgetting. It was created by the Elder Hive, a faction that believes all sentient life is a mistake, a flaw in the universe's design. They seek to erase memory itself, because without memory there is no identity, no history, no resistance. My brother, he discovered their signal. He tried to warn the Alliance, but they intercepted him. They did not kill him. They folded him into the silence. He exists, still, but not as you knew him. Where is he? On the edge of the void between stars, trapped in a loop of his last memory. Over and over forever, unless someone pulls him out. Howenly, one who has touched the silence and returned, can reach him. The princess said, her amber eyes locking onto Lisa's. I am that one. Why help me? Because you stood here when all others ran, because you asked. Not for vengeance but for truth, because your grief is clean, not twisted by fear. Lisa swallowed hard. What do I have to? Don't let me? And Lisa hesitated, not out of fear, but understanding this was the moment the warnings had screamed about. This was the point of no return, do it. The princess stepped forward until they were close enough to share breath. Then she placed a cool hand on Lisa's temple and leaned in, stay away from the alien vampire princess, they warned. But Lisa leaned in and murmured to her, "Tell me how to save him." The princess closed her eyes and whispered a single word. Anchor. Suddenly Lisa was not on the station anymore. She floated in endless black, not cold, not hot, just absence around her, flickered fragments of memory. Not hers. A birthday cake with too many candles, a dog barking at rain, a first kiss under broken streetlights. These were the princess's memories, given freely, not taken. Then came the silence. It roared like a storm of nothingness, swallowing stars. Thoughts, names. It reached for Lisa. But the princess's presence wrapped around her like a shield. Hold on to who you are. The voice echoed in her mind. Remember your name. Remember his name. Lisa clung to the image of her brother Tom laughing in their backyard, throwing a baseball too hard as always. Tom. She thought Tom. Through the void she saw him curled in a sphere of static, his eyes open but empty, his mouth moving in silent repetition. Yours, yours, yours. Lisa reached out, not with her hand but with her will, with every memory she had of him, the time he stayed up all night helping her fix her bike, the way he sang off key in the shower, the stupid jokes he told at dinner time. She called. His head turned slowly, his eyes focusing for the first time in cycles. Lisa. The silence surged, angry at this intrusion. But Lisa did not flinch. She poured every ounce of love, every shared secret, every tear she had cried into that single connection. Come home, she said, and he reached back. The return was violent, like being ripped from water into air. Lisa gasped, collapsing to the station floor, her body shaking. The princess knelt beside her, breathing hard as if she too had run a great distance. He is safe, the princess whispered. The silence cannot hold him now. He will wake on the medical bay deck, in one cycle. Lisa looked up, tears streaking her face. Why did you do this? For me, because once someone did it for me, the princess said softly. Long ago I was lost in the silence too. A human traitor found me. He did not fear me. He asked my name, and when I could not speak, he gave me one. What did he call you? Elena. Lisa smiled. Weakly. Elena suits you. They sat in silence for a while, the station humming back to life around them. Distant voices over comms announcing all clear. All clear. What happens now? Lisa asked. The Elder Hive will come for you now that you have broken their silence. Let them. Trilena studied her again, that same weighing look, then nodded. You have the heart of a star, Lisa Carter, rare and bright. I should get to the medbay. Wait. Elena said, holding out a small crystal that pulsed with soft light. Take this. If they come for you again, it will calm. Elisa took it. It was warm like a living thing. Thank you. No, Elena said gently. Thank you for reminding me that not all humans run. Lisa stood on unsteady legs and turned to leave, then paused. What will you do? No, hunt the hunters, she said simply. Lisa nodded and walked toward the lift, her steps growing stronger with each one. She did not look back, but she felt Elena's gaze on her like a promise. In the medbay, Tom stirred, his eyes fluttering open, confused. But present, a nurse rushed to his side, but he pushed her gently aside, scanning the room until he saw Lisa in the doorway. You came, he whispered. Always, she said back on the observation deck. Elena watched the stars, her silver veins glowing brighter. Then before the crystal in Lisa's hand was not just a beacon, it was a bond, and bonds were harder to break than silence. The Elder Hive would learn that soon enough. Far below the station, alarms began to blare. Not of evacuation this time, but of incoming hostiles, 3 vessels dark and jagged tearing through the void like teeth. Elena smiled. Let them come. She stepped to the edge of the deck, raised her hands and sang. The station lights dimmed, then flared violet as ancient defenses long dormant awakened, humming to her voice. The obsidian serpent ship coiled tighter around the station like a guardian. On the medbay floor, Lisa felt the crystal grow hot. She looked up through the transparent ceiling and saw the stars shift as if bowing to him. Gripped her hand. What is happening? We are not alone, she said. and for the first time in cycles it did not feel like a curse. Above them, Elena stood between two worlds, human and alien memory and silence, light and void, and she chose to stand with the light. The first enemy ship fired a beam of pure forgetting. It struck the station's shield and shattered like glass. Elena's song grew louder, weaving through metal and mind, a lullaby for the lost, a war cry for the found. Lisa held her brother close and whispered a name, not in fear but in hope, Elena. And somewhere in the dark the stars listened. The message, "You are remembered," traveled faster than light, not because of power but because it was true, and truth has weight in the dark places of the galaxy. Lisa watched the star map in the obsidian ship's bridge bloom with new lights. Each one, a mind waking, a voice returning, a name spoken after silence. They had been flying for 12 cycles since the tomb fell, and with every passing day the silence grew weaker. Not gone, but thin, like old cloth, ready to tear. Tom worked in the memory chamber, where rescued hive minds now helped others remember. They sat in circles sharing fragments of who they once were. A baker from Vega 9, a pilot from the Iron Belt, a child who loved to count falling star. Selena no longer stood alone at the helm. She let Tom take the controls sometimes, let Lisa chart the course she was learning to trust. Not just their strength but their care. One evening as the ship drifted near the Amber Veil Nebula, a signal came. Not a whisper, not a cry, but a song. It was soft and strange, made of wind and water and something older. Elena froze, her silver veins flaring bright. "What is it?" Lisa asked. "The first song," she said, "the one before silence." They followed it to a world hidden behind a curtain of dust, small and blue, with oceans and green hills and ruins that looked almost human. They landed in a field of silver grass that chimed when the wind blew. No one came to meet them. The air smelled of rain and old stone. They walked toward the ruins, Tom holding the crystal, Lisa with her hand on her sidearm, not out of fear, but habit. Elena walked barefoot, her gown trailing behind her. In the center of the ruins stood a circle of standing stones, each carved with symbols that shifted when you looked away. In the middle sat a woman. She was human, or close enough skin. Pale hair, white as moonlight, eyes closed as if sleeping. But she was singing. The song that called them. Elena approached slowly. "You are awake." The woman opened her eyes. They were not amber or blue, but clear, like water, reflecting everything and nothing. "I never slept," she said. "I waited." "Who are you?" "The first listener," she said, "before there were hives, before there were wars, before there was silence. I heard the universe breathe, and I answered." Lisa stepped forward. "You know about the silence." "I made it," she said. They all froze. "Why?" "Because pain was too loud," she said. "The first minds screamed when they learned they would die, so I gave them quiet, a place to rest, but it became a prison, not by my hand," she said. "Others twisted it, made it a weapon. I tried to take it back, but they locked me here." Elena studied her. The silver in her own skin pulsed in time with the woman's breath. "You are the source. I am the heart," she said, "and it is broken. Can it be fixed? Only by someone who has been lost and found and chose to return." They looked at each other. "Lisa, Tom, Elena, we have done that." Then come. She held out her hands. Elena went first, kneeling before her. The woman touched her forehead and Elena gasped as memories, not her own, flooded her. The birth of stars, the first word spoken. The moment silence was born, not as a weapon but as a gift. Then Lisa stepped forward. The woman touched her, and she saw her brother not in static but in light, laughing on a beach that never existed but felt true. Then Tom, he saw himself not as a victim but as a bridge, a link between what was and what could be. The woman stood. The silence was never meant to last forever. She said it was a blanket, not a cage, but they forgot to take it off. "What do we do now?" "You carry the new song," she said, "the one that says it is safe to remember, it is safe to feel." She walked to the edge of the circle and the stones began to glow. The ground trembled, not with violence but with release. Light rose from the earth, not blinding but warm like sunrise. The Amber Veil Nebula outside shimmered and changed from gold to soft green. The silence was not destroyed. It was transformed. The woman turned to them. "Work is done. Yours is just beginning. Who will? Listen now." "You will," she said. "And those who hear your song will listen too." She faded not into nothing but into the wind. The grass, the stones. The ruins stood quiet, but no longer empty. They returned to the ship. They lifted off, the silver grass chimed. A new tune on the bridge. Lisa looked at the star map. New signals bloomed. Not just from lost minds, but from worlds that had hidden during the silence, now daring to speak again. A station near the twin suns sent a message. "We hear you." A planet in the dust belt lit its beacons for the first time in generations. Evan, the Elder Hive remnant, sent a single word: "Thank you." Tom sat in the pilot seat, his hands steady on the controls. Where to next? Elena smiled. "Anywhere." "There is a whisper." Lisa leaned back, watching the stars flow past. They were no longer hunters or saviors, just travelers carrying a song. And the memory chamber, the rescued minds now taught others to sing, not to fight the dark, but to fill it with light. The ship itself changed its obsidian, scales now shimmering with faint gold veins like Elena's skin. It was becoming something new as they crossed into uncharted space. A small ship hailed them. Not military, not hive, just a single vessel with a human pilot. He appeared on screen, young, scared but hopeful. "I heard your message," he said. "My sister. She vanished during the silence on Outpost Theta. I thought she was gone." "She might not be." Lisa said, "Give us the coordinate." She did. They changed course. Tim checked the systems. The ship hummed. Ready. Elena stood behind them, her hand resting on Lisa's shoulder. "You think we can keep doing this?" she asked. "As long as there is one voice left to call," Lisa said. "And as long as there is one to answer." Elena replied. The young pilot's ship followed them like a chick behind its mother. They found Outpost Theta, dark and cold but not empty. In the comms room, a woman sat curled in a chair, her eyes open, her lips moving. "Yours, yours, yours." Lisa entered alone. She knelt beside her. "Your name is Mara," she said. "Your brother is here." The woman stopped, her eyes focused. "Liam," she whispered. Outside, the brother sobbed. Lisa helped Mara stand. They walked out together into the light. Elena watched from the ship's ramp, her amber eyes soft. Tom joined her. "We are not just saving people," he said. "We are giving them back to each other." Yes, they stayed on Theta for 3 days until Mara could speak her full name, until Liam could sleep without nightmares. Then they left. The song grew. More ships joined their wake, not as a fleet, but as a chorus, each one carrying a story, a name, a memory. The galaxy was healing, not all at once, but one heart at a time. Lisa often stood on the observation deck at night, watching the stars. Sometimes she thought of Henry, the old trader who gave Elena a name. Sometimes she thought of her brother's laugh. Sometimes she just listened. The universe was no longer silent. It was full of voices, and they were all saying the same thing. "I'm here. I remember you." The obsidian ship sailed on, not toward an end, but toward the next whisper. And wherever they went, the dark grew a little less afraid of the light, because light now had a name, and it was not alone. The chorus of ships grew until it filled the sky behind them. Not a fleet, but a family. Each vessel carrying a rescued voice. A returned name, a story, no longer lost. Lisa stood on the obsidian ship's deck, watching the lights pulse in rhythm like heartbeats across the void. They had crossed half the known galaxy. And still the whispers came. A child on a frozen moon, humming a lullaby her mother taught her before the silence took her away. A pilot from the Rust Belt singing an old work song. As he repaired his engine, a hive elder reciting the names of every mind he had failed to protect. Now spoken not in grief, but in honor. Elena no longer needed to sing alone. The song lived in all of them. Tom had become the bridge between human and hive, teaching them to share memories not as data but as gifts. They received a new signal, not from the edge of space, but from the heart of the Alliance core world. Terra Prime. The message was simple. Come home. Elisa frowned. Home was a word she had not used in years. Tom touched her arm. Maybe it is time. Elena said nothing, but her silver veins glowed soft green, a color they had never seen before. They turned the ship toward the inner systems. As they approached the Alliance border, they expected patrols, warnings, maybe even weapons. Instead, they found a line of civilian ships stretching from orbit to the edge of the system, each one lit with soft white lights. No weapons, no scanners, just welcome. A voice came over the comm, calm and warmth. "This is Captain Nora Lee of the Terra Defense Fleet. You are cleared for landing. All sectors are open." Lisa recognized the name. Nora had been her instructor at the academy before the Krell uprising, before everything broke. They descended through clouds thick with Rain, not acid, not toxic, just water clean and real. The landing pad was not military, it was a garden. Trees lined the edges. Flowers bloomed in colors Lisa had only seen in old books. People waited not in uniforms, but in simple clothes. Faces turned up, not in fear but in hope. Nora stood at the front, her hair gray now, her eyes tired but kind. "You brought them back," she said to Lisa, some of Thema. Nufalena stepped onto the soil and knelt. She touched the grass and it shimmered where her fingers brushed. Tum helped an old woman from one of the rescue ships down the ramp. The woman wept as her bare feet touched earth. "This is real," she whispered. "It is," Nora said. They walked through the city not as heroes but as neighbors. Children ran beside them, not afraid of Elena's silver skin or Tom's quiet eyes in the central square. A stage had been built not for speeches but for stories. That night the first gathering began. A man spoke of his daughter lost on a mining colony found in a silence loop repeating. Her favorite poem, A Hive Child, showed how to weave light into memory threads so no one would forget again. Lisa watched from the edge of the crowd. Nora joined her. "You changed everything." "No," Lisa said, "we just reminded them they were never alone." Elena appeared beside them, her gown now woven with threads of green and gold. "They want to build a new archive," she said, not of data but of voices. Good Tom came over holding 2 cups of real coffee. "They still make it too bitter," Lisa laughed. For 3 days, the gathering grew. Ships landed from every corner of human and hive space. Even former Elder Hive members came, not in bone ships, but in vessels painted with stars. They sat in circles, shared food, told stories. The silence was not mentioned. Not because it was forgotten, but because it no longer held power. On the 4th morning a new signal came. Not a whisper, not a song, but a question. "Is it safe to come home?" The voice was young. Scared coordinates placed it near the dead zone, a region where no ship had returned in 50 cycles. Elena looked at Lisa. "Have to go." Nora stepped forward. "You just got here and we will come back," Lisa said. "But someone is waiting." They prepared to leave. The people of Terra Prime did not try to stop them. Instead, they gave them gift seeds from earth soil from the garden, recordings of children laughing. A young girl pressed a small stone into Elena's hand. It glowed faintly. "For your ship," she said. Elena kissed her forehead. As they lifted off, the entire city turned on, their lights not for show but as a beacon. "Fly safe." The lights seemed to say back in the void. The chorus ships followed, but not all. Some stayed to help rebuild. Some went to find their own lost ones. The obsidian ship led the way. Its golden veins now bright as suns, they reached the dead zone and found not emptiness but a single station orbiting a black hole. It was old human design but covered in vines of living light. On the comms a boy's voice. "I heard you on the broadcast. My name is Danny. I have been here since the silence took my parents. I kept the station running. I did not know if anyone would come." Lisa opened a channel. "We are here, Danny. How do I know you are real? Say something only a real person would know." Lisa thought, then smiled. "Your favorite food is burnt toast with too much jam." The comms went silent for a long moment, then a sobe as they docked. Danny was small, pale from years without sun, but his eyes were sharp. He showed them the station logs, how he had recorded every day, how he played his mother's music every night so he would not forget her voice. Elena listened, then touched the wall. The station hummed. It had been waiting too. They stayed for 2 cycles, helping Danny prepare to leave. He did not want to go alone, so they took him with them. On the ship he sat in the memory chamber, and for the first time in years he slept without dreaming of staticas. They flew back toward the inner systems. The chorus grew again, ships appearing from hidden corners drawn by the light of the obsidian serpent. Lisa stood on the deck, Danny beside her. "Do you think it will ever end?" he asked. "The work use when everyone is found." "Maybe," she said. "But even then we will keep listening because new voices are born every day." Elena joined them. "The song is not about ending," she said. "It is about never letting anyone sing alone." Tom appeared with coffee, still too bitter. They laughed. The stars watched them pass, not as legends but as friends. The galaxy was no longer divided by species or history, but by those who remembered and those who were remembered, and the line between them grew thinner every day. On Terra Prime, the archive opened its doors, not with servers or files, but with rooms where people sat and spoke their stories into the air, and the walls remembered. Children learned to listen before they spoke. Ships carried not just cargo but songs, and in the center of it all, the obsidian ship rested between missions, its crew walking among the people not as saviors, but as reminders. You are not forgotten. You never were. Lisa sat under a tree in the garden, Elena beside her. Tom teaching Danny how to fix a comms unit nearby. The sun was warm. The air smelled of rain and earth, and for the first time in her life, Lisa felt peace. Not because the war was over, but because she knew she was not fighting it alone. Elena took her hand. We did good. We are still doing it. Yes, above them. The stars blinked, not in silence, but in rhythm. A rhythm that said, keep going, we are with you. And so they would, as long as there was a whisper in the dark, they would answer. Not with weapons, not with fear, but with a name and a song and the simple truth. You are remembered.